I'm sure I sound like a Rick Rubin type, like, oh, you gotta come in and just center yourself around the music and just let it present itself to you. But it kind of is that way. Like, if this is a sacred space for creation and listening and experiencing the art that's being made here, that kind of sets you a little bit outside of the perspective of, oh, sitting down at my computer in my bedroom where I've also watched a bunch of HBO Max movies and played, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Literally.
separation of environment.
I love how you said like it comes Hello, my name is Derek Smith. In an age where bedroom producing is becoming more and more of a thing and people are more geared towards, I would say, recording anywhere, it's rare to find a place where people can actually focus on just doing recording, stuff like that. And that's why today we are here with none only than Nolan Monogold to talk to us about the chapter room here at the Monastery. Nolan, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, Derek. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So tell me a little bit about the chapter room at the monastery. Tell us a little bit about like what exactly it is and how you found this place.
So, yeah, the chapter room is a facility for the underground and growing community of young musicians in the Cincinnati area. I come from the CCM College Conservatory of Music over at UC, and we're really just trying to develop a facility that can really cater towards the younger area, that is professional in the way it looks, the way it operates, it's normal in the way that everything happens in the facility. But yeah, we're just going to make a good recording studio for the people that need it.
Dude, definitely too, because even then I feel like coming in from like the University of Cincinnati or like the UC like production scene or area, I feel like at a certain point everybody ends up at like the monastery. So I imagine there's been like some pretty crazy people that have like been through here and recorded.
Yeah, man. I mean, the National has done some work through here. I mean, Rich Wardinski himself is a name worth mentioning. He, as a professor at UC, was really instrumental in actually. I interned at the monastery when I was younger back in college, and that was a huge formative experience. But yeah, it's one of those buildings that the location is amazing. The vibes that you get when you come in here are amazing. I mean, this facility, like the room that we're in and of itself, used to be the cricket den for the longest time where Jake Richter worked out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, other like the names that have come through this building is pretty interesting. Like Drew Sliger now works with
Yeah.
Take a Day Trip and Lil Nas X.
Yeah.
Nathan Phillips was here working. He now works out in L.A. with Omar Apollo and Remy Wolf, among others. Like
Jesus.
Jake Richter is doing amazing things. Clark Miller has done a lot of amazing records in this area, and like they all came from this facility before I was even coming through and like doing the chapter room stuff. That was all before, but you're right. The history that the building has, like in that it's seen, is really, really, really interesting to just be a part of now.
Dude, and then so then tell me a little bit more about like the chapter rooms. That's why I feel like I enjoy seeing you a little bit more or that's incorporated with this versus some stuff I've seen before. I think before it's more so like the monastery was like a place where a lot of the local music people will come to just intern versus now with the chapter room it feels like it's its own like thing that's actually a portion so like sorted out to like the younger demographic here that's working on music and a place to record who all is like the chapter room and what all you guys are trying to like do.
So the building has always had two different studios in it. So
Yeah.
like the Cricket Den was its own thing. I don't want to get it twisted. That
Okay,
like
okay, okay,
that
okay,
was a
okay.
whole separate like that was part of the monastery. It's always been like this back area of the building has always kind of been and held its own like gem of of the area. Like it's its own thing versus Rich has his own control room over on his other side. But the really nice thing about the chapter room now is it's Monogold Studios running the part of it and doing a lot of the renovations here. Chris Aldi also works out of here as well, of Goof Juice and Fruit of the Island fame, among other groups. And Pete Glassmeyer from Co Etc. also works out of here as well and
Yeah.
does a lot of cool stuff going on.
My boy Pete.
Yeah.
So what all physically have you done in the space since you've been here to like alter? I know it probably didn't look like this like 6 to 12 months ago.
Man, I gotta say, it has come a long way from where we kind of took it. Like, so the room that we're currently in right now, back when Jake had his studio here, it was the ISO booth back here. So this area that we're sitting used to have an actual ISO booth in it, and then some storage over in that area, another like blanket fort ISO booth sort of thing going on. It was great, but when we got in, we kind of wanted to establish it as something that's different. Like when you come in, it's whoa, this is not the exact same thing that we were doing, like but just in the same room. Now we've got and done an actual like full treatment to the facility. We've got sound panels that are on the wall installed, that are all made by hand. Actually, we did a bunch of this work ourselves just to falling on a budget. You know what I'm saying?
I was
Like
about to say.
the cloud above us, we designed with a lot of help from other people and like Facebook groups that have information. John Brandt in the audio like acoustic Facebook group had a whole bunch of just really good information. And yeah, we've just been trying to get it all put together, tidy it up, and make it put some makeup on the face. You know what I'm saying? Like get it all up and running and feeling good.
Exactly. That's what my next question is. Like, I know this isn't the first studio that you've worked on. I imagine, like, over time, you have, like, certain stuff from studios that makes it to other stuff like that. Do you feel like you've brought over certain stuff or, like, things to bring the vibe from other studios to here, outside of just, like, gear or other places to try to bring, like, the feeling onto the next place?
100%. There are certain things like this desk that's over here that's now like the assistant or the intern desk. That's the original desk that was in my bedroom when I started doing like bedroom production stuff back in college.
Yeah.
It's gone all over with me during the pandemic. Went back to my parents' basement, was there, went to the other studios I've had over in Kentucky, and then was at my apartment bedroom studio again. And now it's just nice seeing like stuff like that travel around. Like the flag that's up hanging on the bass trap back there is from one of our house shows that we did in the basement of one of my buddies, and just got the logo up there for just little stuff that you recognize when you come in. It's like it's for the people that have been coming like since the attic or something like that.
So then, Nolan, let me know. Like, tell me, how did you get to the monastery or the chapter room and Monogold Studios make it to the monastery? Because I know it was a progression that you moved through a couple studios before you got here.
Yeah, so it's been a what's the saying? A long and crazy trip, or something like that. I started out having a bedroom studio, like we've been talking about. It was great. I just never felt I'm a messy person in my personal life, so I never liked having people into my bedroom because it was never as clean as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
My landlord was super, super, super cool, Mike Morris. If you're ever looking for a landlord, you couldn't look for a better guy. And he had a empty, vacant apartment above mine, and it needed a little bit more work than he probably wanted to do at the time. So we just asked him, "Hey, what are you doing up there?" Wound up, long story short, turned it into a studio venue called Grandpa's Attic. We had all sorts of different bands and concerts and shows there. It was a really, really cool time, just a creative environment. Wound up moving out of that apartment and onto bigger and better things. With that, the studio bounced over to one of my buddy's houses over in Kentucky for a little bit. I was bouncing around different like studio locations, just like
Newport or Florence area?
Florence, like
Florence?
Newport over on the
Like in Florence, it's Newport.
yeah, that like Kentucky side.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just literally a house that had a nice window and set up the desk and everything. But he wound up moving up to New York. I was moving stuff into my apartment for a little bit, just doing bedroom production again, like
Yeah.
back to basics. And that's fun. But then bands started hitting me up again, being like, hey, we want to actually record in facilities versus just come in and track guitars.
Yeah.
To your point again about the difference between a bedroom studio and a facility, the biggest thing is the space.
I was about to say, yeah, I was like, I can't cram like four dudes, a drum set, two guitars, and like,
If you got a living room and roommates that are chill, you can scratch by. But once
Yeah.
you're like, if you got a girlfriend living with you and you don't want to tear apart the like living room every single time you have tracking, you start looking for a facility. You know.
exactly, like, I get this IKEA furniture, but at the same time, like, I don't want you and your brand to destroy our IKEA furniture.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But no, and then we wound up. Bands would hit me up and they were like, "We need a facility. We wanted to go and rent out different places." That worked really well, but I was trying to save bands money and realized if I actually had enough bands coming through and a stable facility that's going to be the same every single time, that could actually kind of be a good combination. Jake Richter and Clark Miller at the time were running this facility over here as like the cricket den. I moved in just doing like as a third leg of helping out with stuff, and then wound up just through life evolving in different ways. Jake had some opportunities take off for him. Clark had some stuff going on for him that's taken off, and now we just decided to take over the lease. Now we flipped the space, and this is hopefully the first of. Well, I don't want to say too much, but the goal is you might be seeing another Monogold Studios popping up on one of the coasts in the next year or so.
Exactly, going global.
Going national, then taking it international.
I said global. I'm just like, and then.
Well, you got it's like the underpants gnomes for South Park, man. You got you got step 1, steal underpants.
Yeah.
Step 2, step 3, profit.
Exactly.
We got to get that step 2 going on, and then Universal, man.
Exactly.
Monogold Studios on Mars, exactly. Tracking all day.
On the moon. I love how I go straight to global. I was like, we have to go like national.
Then
international.
Hey, if we go Canada, then we're global, and it's still like, you can get
exactly Canada.
You know, get a Toronto studio going on or something.
I felt like a studio could thrive, and they probably thrive.
Oh yeah, in Canada. There's a spot up in Winnipeg, or it's not Winnipeg. All the Canadian fans are going to be slaughtering me right now. It's up in
the Canucks.
The Canucks. There's a studio up in Canada called Metalworks. And Rush has recorded there a whole bunch, among other people. I toured there when I was looking around at colleges, and it's one of those cool places where it's a 100% professional, put-together recording facility, but they also have an entire, like, college where you can go and get a full, like, bachelor's of music or, like, bachelor's of production degree from this studio. When I was younger and went up to check it out, like, I didn't wind up going to college in Canada, and I'm here. Yeah. But like while I was up there, my parents found it, and we went and checked it out. And it was actually really, really interesting to just like the concept of a fully working studio. Everything's like there was a dude soldering up the patch bay in the back, like when we were there, in between bands coming and tracking. But you got that experience of like as a student, getting to be around the real stuff versus just sitting in a classroom and learn it, like seeing it taught to you from a YouTube video, essentially, you know? Yeah. And that's really, again, to the point we were talking about earlier, part of why I've wanted this like facility, and Rich has been doing an amazing job with this too, offering the internship opportunities. People that just haven't had the chance to like be around bands just because you got to be in the right place at the right time to be in the same room as bands that are making music. And actually capturing it in the full way. And a lot of times there's pseudo glass ceilings or stuff for like coming into studios, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking that level of just being afraid away and giving people the chance to come in and learn, like either from the artist side, obviously come through, be comfortable and do what you need to do. But from the intern or assistant side too, like just offering the experience of, hey, none of us know everything, but the stuff that we do, we're always trying to pass it down and just give experience and opportunities. So, yeah.
Place or recording here and more special versus people really like, or something more of like a bedroom productive setup or something like that. What makes going physically to the studio in 2022 special? I guess kind of similar like the movies where I'm like, I got the movies at home, HBO Max. I'm like, bro, I got the Focusrite and the SM7B at home, but I'm like, that's not what we got the studio. So it's like, what's the difference?
I love that point that you made actually about like the HBO Max at home versus going to the actual like AMC big theater.
Yeah,
because it is really the same thing. But this I want to tip. Oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
Oh, no, I was gonna say I was like, I'm a very big movie person where I would say it's not the same thing. Where I would very much so tell people to go to the movie theater.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I want to tiptoe around this because, do not get me wrong, a bedroom studio is an amazing thing. That's what I started out with. Not everybody needs this. Trust me, you don't want to have to worry about a lot of this stuff. The amount of headaches that just working with once you get more than 4 inputs on your interface, it's just it's a different game.
No, so you ever had to patch cables?
What you know about patch bays?
Exactly.
No, but
patch bay, I hardly know them.
One thing that I would say though to that point that you were making is when you're sitting at home watching Netflix or watching HBO, text comes in, you get distracted.
Yeah.
You're doing other stuff while you're watching the movie. Not that that's a bad thing, but that is so much easier to have happen when you're not in a studio facility. Because, like, you think about it, you're paying money to begin with. So you're in here, and time is money. So when you're sitting around, like, if you're not actively doing something musically, then it just starts to be like, what are you doing? So it sets you in a mindset of, okay, cool. We're coming into this sacred space that is for creation, for production, for recording and capturing art or generating it.
Yeah.
And that just mentality of like, I'm sure I sound like a Rick Rubin type, like, oh, you got to come in and just center yourself around the music and just let it present itself to you. But it kind of is that way. Like, if this is a sacred space for creation and listening and experiencing the art that's being made here, that kind of sets you a little bit outside of the perspective of, oh, I'm sitting down at my computer in my bedroom where I've also watched a bunch of HBO Max movies and played, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Literally.
separation of environment.
Cause I love how you said like it comes to you. Cause I think that's a part of music people kind of skip over a lot. Like when I talk to people about music or I describe my experience with it, I feel like a lot more of like a conduit. To where I'm like I feel like you're more like tapping into something and get it. Towards just like if you have like a nice studio, sometimes it's easier to like tap more into it. You have other little like relics of things or remnants of other people coming here to do music. Same reason why I'm like I don't have a home gym. I go to the gym to where like I get there and I know like I'm about my business. I have like these 30 to 45 minutes are just about music or it's just about like the
Getting
gym.
that pump on.
Exactly. But do you ever feel like that the studio is, even if it's outside of just I'm coming here crushed for time, do you feel like people sometimes come to the studio for inspiration?
Oh, 100%. There's something about, like, and that's what part of why I try to have, like, interesting stuff on the walls and stuff that is reminiscent of, like, places people have been, be it from my side or from other sides. Like, me being in a room and looking up and seeing this little like that little pottery thing. I've had that on my desk for probably 10 years now
Yeah.
before I was even doing production. And that's one of those things that just like you got to have yourself. You know, like what are you doing if you're just doing something for other people all the time? Like it sounds a little selfish in some ways, but like in terms of that like mind body whole thing, like if you don't have yourself and things, little trinkets or mementos or stuff that do remind you of, like, doesn't have to be expensive stuff, but just stuff that reminds you of, like, oh, yeah, cool. This is a space that I spend time in and I create stuff in. Other people start coming through. They start recognizing those little things. You ever been in a restaurant where you see stuff on the walls and you're like, oh man, it makes no sense that there's a pair of skis on that wall. But every time I come back, huh, that pair of skis is right there.
Yeah.
Cool. It's the restaurant that has it.
That's why I miss TGI Fridays. They had the best
Facts.
knickknacks.
They had all crazy stuff in
That's
there,
what I'm
man.
saying. Millennium Falcons, Darth Vader's. You know
Blues
what I'm saying?
Brothers dancing up on top of the
Exactly.
bathrooms, doing the whole thing.
More TGA Fridays. Everybody just moved to Tex-Mex. But another thing that the bedroom studio doesn't have, Nolan, is you. They don't have like a something like that. It's like the studio. You don't have a Nolan back at home. But really, so then even then we're talking earlier about how you're getting more into like developing art stuff like that. Can you talk to how more of like where that our actual production at that point like comes into play with the studio of how it could be a place not just for to come and get stuff done, but to also help like artists like develop ideas.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things during school was we had this thing called Collab Corner, where we would basically, the upperclassmen would work with the underclassmen that would bring a song in, and the upperclassmen would sit in the position of the producer, and we would take a song, develop it up into something from just a acoustic guitar and a vocal into a true, like, full production. That is what is really, really fun about music and production to me. And we've got a few different clients that are coming through now, and it's like, yeah, we've got these songs, we've got these ideas. We're going to put this together. And I'm the type of person that when I'm working on something, I love having a devil's advocate to like just bounce ideas off of. Somebody to tell me either, yeah, you're right, this sounds like crap. I don't know if I can swear on this, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, but like, you know, like I like, oh man, this doesn't sound good, or oh yeah, no, this does sound good. Just
yeah.
little bits of affirmation on either side from both, like from both parties. That having a bouncing wall to have stuff like play off of
Yeah.
really really does, in my opinion, make a difference. And like from the like from the producer's chair,
Yeah.
when I'm sitting here and somebody's like talking to me about their vocal performance or something, to your point about the bedroom studio, if you're sitting in there working on your own vocal performance, yeah, it could be really awesome having that just one-on-one experience, but also having somebody there that's basically there to catch you when you fall.
Yeah.
And if something goes wrong or you mess up a take, not a big deal. That's what you're here for. This is a space for you to just let loose and enjoy yourself and actually create. And like, mistakes are very very welcome.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say next too. To where like studios, other things sometimes give me anxiety is I see people will like come to the studio and not have anything. So I'm just like, no, I need something. So what do you do typically? Is there anything you do that gets artists more comfortable or gets them inspired or start working through an idea? Or do you think it helps like through the process of getting them more like relaxed in the studio or specifically in this setting? Do you think helps them?
It depends for every client. I'll be honest, like, we're working with people.
Yeah,
So like, it's not a one size thing fits all. Some people, they need to be recorded in a dark room where they have no distractions and they don't have anybody even looking at them,
yeah,
and that's what makes them the most comfortable. Some people need that friend to be sitting across from them looking at them being like, "Oh yeah, really really good job."
yeah.
So stuff like that. Yeah. I mean,
Exactly. Some people need to be rubbed on the ankle and like need like a cup of coffee or something like that. Everybody has like strange specific.
yeah. I mean, and you start to learn that. Like, the first time you work with a client, there's always a little bit of like just figuring out who's who, what's what, and how you actually work well together. Once you figure that out, and that's why I love like being a one facility thing, like once
Yeah,
you start having the continuity with a person or with an artist, that continuity is amazing. Just being able to pick up 6 months later, they walk in, it's like, oh yeah, you already got that cup of green tea ready for them,
yeah.
and they're just ready to go. And it feels like, I always talk about, we're almost like we're in the hospitality industry a little bit.
I'm about to say, so you feel like you've gotten like you can see people over time getting more comfortable like working with you and like the place with like the studio and everything.
Yeah, and from our side, like, little tiny things like, we'll learn what type of beer you like.
Exactly.
You know, like, and we will have it before you even walk through the door, because that is what, if that's what makes you comfortable when you come through, like, how good does it feel being a regular at a restaurant where you walk in, it's just like, yeah, here's your home fries and pancake and sausage. You know, like,
Exactly.
it just feels good.
Exactly. Man, no, I could talk for forever, but I gotta let you go. I know you got important things to record. But before I do, I am curious of one, what is next for Chapter Room or Monogold Studios, and curious if there's anything else coming out soon or any events that you would like to promote as well.
So yeah, hey, thank you for having me on this. This has been an absolute blast, and yeah, this has been really fun. In terms of what's next for the chapter room, we are officially opening in March, which is going to be a really fun deal. Like, actually, we're ready. We're open. The dust panels have come down. We're good to go. For Monogold Studios, we're doing more Bellevue shows coming up. Starting in May, I want to say. We're gonna have some announcements. Be on the lookout for that. Same old team, same old place. New year, good times coming.